Welcome to Top Real Estate Questions with Maison Moving Company. Today's top real estate question is real estate documents. Purchase agreement, sales contract. Outlines terms and conditions of the property sale, including price, closing date, and contingencies. Deed, a legal document transferring ownership of a property from the seller to the buyer. Title report, provides information on the property's ownership history, liens, and other encumbrances. Closing disclosure, details the final terms of the mortgage loan and closing costs provided to the buyer before closing. Loan agreement, mortgage, defines the term of the loan, including interest rates, repayment schedule, and consequences of default. Home inspection report, documents the condition of the property, highlighting any issues of needed repairs. Property disclosure form, requires sellers to disclose known defects or issues with the property. Lease agreement, if the property is being rented, this outlines the terms between the landlord and the tenant. Easement agreement, grants the right to use a portion of the property for a specific purpose, such as utilities. Homeowners Association documents, includes covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&Rs, that govern the property within an HOA. Escrow Instructions, details the instructions for the escrow agent who holds funds and documents until the closing conditions are met. Survey report, provides a detailed map of the property outlining its boundaries, structures, and any encroachments. Certificate of Occupancy, issued by local authorities confirming that a newly constructed or renovated property complies with building codes and is suitable for occupancy. Property appraisal, determines the fair market value of the property, often required by lenders before approving the mortgage. Affidavit of Title, a sworn statement confirming the seller's legal right to sell the property and detailing any known title issues. Lead-based paint disclosure, required for properties built before 1978, disclosing the presence of lead-based paint and potential risks. Addendum, an additional document that modifies or supplements terms in the purchase agreement. Counteroffer, a response to the initial offer, outlining different terms and conditions for the sale. Estoppel Certificate, used in commercial real estate, it confirms the current status of leases, rent amounts, and other terms for tenants. Rental application, completed by prospective tenants, provided information for the landlord's evaluation. Quitclaim Deed, transfers a person's interest in a property without confirming the extent of that interest. Broker price opinion, BPO. Similar to an appraisal, it estimates the property's value, often used by lenders in the pre-foreclosure process. Option agreement, grants a party the right to buy or sell a property at an agreed-upon price within a specified time frame. Lease option agreement, combines a lease and an option agreement, allowing a tenant to potentially purchase the property after a certain period. Consent to assignment of contract, allows a party to transfer the contractual rights and obligations to another party. Waiver of contingencies, a document wherein a buyer waives certain contingencies indicating their commitment to their purchase. Amendment to contract, modifies or adds terms to an existing contract, often used to address changes in the transaction. Broker agreement, outlines the terms between a property owner and a real estate broker, specifying the broker's duties and compensations. Land contract, contract for deed. Seller finances the purchase and the buyer gains equitable title while making installment payments. Sublease agreement, allows a tenant to lease part or all of their rented space to another party. Estoppel letter, a document used in real estate transactions or leases confirming the current status of an agreement or relationship. Right of first refusal, ROFR, grants a party the opportunity to purchase a property before the owner sells it to another party. Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, a preliminary agreement outlining the terms before a formal contract is drafted. Letter of Intent, LOI, outlines the preliminary understanding between parties before a formal agreement is reached. Assignment of lease, transfers a tenant's rights and responsibilities under a lease to another party. Land use restrictions, documents specifying how the property can be used, common in developments or areas with zoning restrictions. Power of attorney, POA. Grants someone the authority to act on behalf of another party in real estate transactions. Home warranty agreement. Provides coverage for certain repairs or replacements or major home systems and appliances. Residential service contract, RSC. Similar to a home warranty, offering coverage for home systems and appliances. Construction agreement. Outlines the terms between an owner and a contractor for construction or renovation projects. Zoning permit. Issued by local authorities allowing specific uses of a property within defined zoning regulations. Declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&Rs. Governing documents for planned communities outlining rules and regulations for property owners. License agreement. Grants permission to use a property for specific purposes without transferring ownership. Lis Pendens. A notice indicating that a legal action is pending regarding the title of a property. Exchange agreement. Used in a 1031 exchange, allowing a property owner to defer capital gains taxes by reinvesting in a similar property. Joint venture agreement. Governs the relationship between parties entering into a real estate venture together. Conservation easement. Limits the use of a property to protect its environmental or historical features. Shared well agreement. Governs the shared use and maintenance responsibilities of a well by multiple property owners. Rider to the lease. An additional document modifying or adding clauses to a standard lease agreement. Subordination agreement. Adjust the priority of existing liens on a property often necessary for refinancing. Warranty deed. Similar to a deed, it provides a guarantee that the title is clear of defects and encumbrances. Collateral assignment of lease. Pledges a lease as collateral for a loan, allowing the lender to take possession in case of default. Real estate development agreement. Outlines the terms and conditions for the development of a property. Consent to encumber. Obtained from a lender granting permission to place an additional lien on a property. Declaration of homestead. Protects a portion of a homeowner's primary residencies from certain creditors. Assignment of mortgage. Transfers a mortgage and its terms from one party to another. Estoppel Certificate for Homeowners Association, HOA. Certifies the financial and other information about a property within an HOA. Exclusive right to sell agreement. A contract between a seller and a real estate agent granting the agent the exclusive right to sell the property. Lease termination agreement. Ends a lease before its natural expiration date with agreed upon terms. Rental application denial letter. Informs a rental applicant that their application has been denied, stating reasons if required by law. Consent to release information. Allows the release of specific information about a property or transaction to a third party. Seller's affidavit. A sworn statement by the seller confirming the accuracy of information provided in the sale of the property. Mobile home bill of sale. A document used when buying or selling a mobile home, detailing the terms of the transaction. Right to enter agreement. Grants permission for a party, often a utility company, to enter and perform work on a property. Shared parking agreement. Defines the terms for shared parking spaces among neighboring properties. Landlord's consent to sublease. Allows a tenant to sublease the property with the landlord's approval. Amortization schedule. Details the breakdown of each mortgage payment, showing the principal and interest over the loan term. Notice to quit. A legal notice given by the landlord to a tenant signaling the termination of the lease due to a violation of non-payment. Tenancy at will agreement. A flexible rental agreement allowing occupancy without a fixed lease term. Construction lien waiver. A document acknowledging that a contractor or subcontractor has received payments and waives their right to file a lien for the work completed. Exclusive agency agreement. Similar to an exclusive right to sell agreement, but the seller retains the right to sell the property independently without paying a commission. Property management agreement. Outlines the terms between a property owner and a property management company for managing a rental property. Mechanics lien. A claim against a property by a contractor or subcontractor for unpaid bills. Hold harmless agreement. A legal document where one party agrees not to hold another party liable for certain actions or events. Amendment to lease. Modifies or adds terms for an existing lease agreement. Pet addendum to lease. Adds specific terms and conditions related to pets in a rental property. Consent to judge. A document in which a party agrees to court judgment without contesting the matter. Hazardous materials disclosure. informs buyers of potential hazardous materials on or near the property. Real estate commission agreement outlines the terms between a seller and a real estate agent regarding the agent's commission. Construction draw schedule breaks down the disbursement of construction funds at different stages of a project. Shared utilities agreement defines how utility costs are shared among multiple units or properties. Rent increase notice informs tenants of an upcoming rent increase and details the new rental terms. Counter notice to quit, a response to notice to quit asserting the tenant's rights or correcting the issue. Subordination, non-disturbance, and attornment agreement, SNDA, addresses the relationship between the tenant, landlord, and lender in the event of a foreclosure. Acknowledgement of receipt of tenant's property, documents items left behind by a tenant upon lease termination. Exclusive buyer agency agreement, similar to an exclusive right to represent agreement, but from the buyer's perspective. Tax deferred exchange agreement from 8824, used in a 1031 exchange to report the like-kind exchange of real estate. Assumption agreement allows a new buyer to take over the new existing mortgage on the property. Notice of default informs a borrower that they are in violation of the terms of their mortgage and may face foreclosure. Affidavit of heirship, a sworn statement identifying the heirs of a deceased property owner when there's no will. Pre-approval letter, provided by a lender confirming a borrower's ability to qualify for a mortgage up to a certain amount. Encroachment agreement, addresses situations where a structure or improvement extends beyond the property line. Environmental site assessment, ESA report, evaluates the environmental condition of a property, identifying potential risks. Consent to lease assignment, allows the tenant to transfer their lease to another party with the landlord's approval. Assignment of purchase and sale agreement, transfers a party's right and obligations in a real estate contract to another party. Lease renewal agreement, extends the terms of an existing lease for a specified period. Real estate power of attorney, grants someone the authority to handle real estate transactions on behalf of the property owner. Owner financing agreement, a financing agreement where the seller acts as the lender to the buyer. Mortgage satisfaction letter, confirms that the mortgage has been paid in full, releasing the borrower from the mortgage obligation. Request for repair and addendum, a document used in real estate transactions where the buyer requests specific repairs after a home inspection. Lease with option to purchase agreement, combines a lease agreement with no option for the tenant to buy the property within a specified period. Property and management authorization letter, grants a property management company the authority to manage a property on behalf of the owner. Estoppel Certificate for commercial leases, a document used in commercial real estate that outlines the terms and condition of a lease. Landlord consent to lease assignment, allows a tenant to assign their lease to another party with the landlord's approval. Reconvenience deed, transfers the title back to the borrower from the trustee after a mortgage is paid in full. Real estate option agreement, grants a party the exclusive right to buy a property at a predetermined price within a specified time frame. HOA reserve study report, evaluates the financial health of a homeowners association by assessing reserve funds and future capital expenditures. Rent concession agreement, outlines temporary reductions or concessions in rent between a landlord and a tenant. License for access agreement, grants permission for one party to access another party's property for specific reasons. Subordination, non-disturbance, and atonement agreement, SNDA for lease, establishes the relationship between a tenant, landlord, and lender, protecting the tenant's rights in the event of a foreclosure. Temporary occupancy agreement, allows a buyer to take possession of a property before the closing date under specified conditions. Estoppel Certificate for residential leases, a document in residential real estate that outlines the terms and conditions of a lease. Consent to lease termination, allows a landlord and tenant to mutually terminate a lease agreement before its expiration date. Adjustable rate mortgage, ARM rider, in addition to a mortgage note that outlines the terms for an adjustable real interest rate. Residential lease extension agreement, extends the terms of an existing residential lease for a specified period. Option to renew lease agreement, gives a tenant the right to renew their lease for an additional term at a predetermined rate. Agreement for deed, land contract, A financing arrangement where the seller retains title until the buyer fulfills the terms of the contract. Subordination agreement of leasehold mortgage. Address the priority of a mortgage against a leasehold interest. CMA, comparative market analysis. A report prepared by a real estate agent that estimates a property's value based on recent sales of comparable properties. Leasehold improvement agreement. Outlines the responsibilities for improvements made to a leased property. Affordable housing deed restriction agreement. Imposes restrictions on a property to maintain its affordability, often in collaboration with government programs. Lease guarantee agreement. A document in which a third party agrees to guarantee the tenant's lease obligations. Commercial property management agreement. Outlines the terms between a property owner and a commercial property management company. Assignment of oil, gas, and mineral rights. Transfers the rights to extract and profit from oil, gas, or minerals on a property. Open listing agreement. Allows a property owner to work with multiple real estate agents, and only the agent who brings the buyer earns a commission. Parking space license agreement. Grants the right to use a specific parking space, often in condominiums or apartment complexes. Intercreditor agreement. Governs the relationship between multiple lenders with security interests in the same property. Holdover agreement. Allows a tenant to remain in the property after the lease has expired, typically on a month-to-month basis. Option to purchase real estate agreement. Gives a party the right to purchase a property at a predetermined price within a specified period. Commercial lease modification agreement. Amends the terms of an existing commercial lease. Pre-leasing agreement. Allows tenants to reserve a unit in a property that is under construction or not yet available for occupancy. Property condition disclosure form. A form where sellers disclose known physical defects or issues with the property. Real estate employment agreement. Outlines the terms between a real estate agent, professional, and their employing broker. Rent-to-own agreement, lease option. Combines a lease agreement with an option for the tenant to purchase the property within a specified period. Exclusive right to represent buyer agreement. Grants a real estate agent exclusive rights to represent a buyer in a transaction. Quiet enjoyment covenant. A clause in a lease or deed that promises the tenant or property owner the right to peacefully use and enjoy the property without interference. Lease termination notice. Formal notice from a landlord and tenant terminating a lease agreement. Mineral rights lease agreement. Grants the right to extract minerals from a property or exchange for compensation. Special warranty deed. A deed where the seller warrants the title only against defects that occurred during their ownership. Lease application form. Completed by prospective tenants, providing information for the landlord's evaluation. Escrow agreement. Governs the use of a neutral third party to hold funds or documents until certain conditions are met. Seller financing disclosure. Informs the buyer about the terms and risks associated with seller financing. Exclusive right to lease agreement. Grants a real estate agent exclusive rights to lease a property on behalf of the landlord. Option to purchase personal property agreement. Grants a party the option to purchase specific personal property associated with a real estate transaction. Real estate trust agreement. Establishes the terms and conditions for placing real estate assets into a trust. Temporary license agreement for property access. Grants temporary access to a property for specific purposes such as inspections or repairs. Rent escrow agreement. Allows tenants to deposit rent to an escrow account when there are disputes with the landlord. Seller's net sheet. An estimate detailing the expected proceeds a seller will receive from a real estate transaction after expenses. Waiver of right of first refusal. A document in which a party voluntarily gives up their right to purchase a property before others. Co-ownership agreement. Establishes the terms for joint ownership of a property, including responsibilities and the rights of co-owners. Exclusive right to lease agreement. Grants a real estate agent exclusive rights to lease a property on behalf of the landlord. Lease abstract. A summary of key terms and conditions of a lease agreement for quick reference. Landlord's notice of entry. Informs tenants of the landlord's intent to enter the property for specific reasons, usually maintenance or inspections. Buyer's cost sheet. An estimate detailing the expected cost for a buyer in a real estate transaction, including closing costs. Real estate partnership agreement. Outlines the terms and conditions for a partnership involved in real estate venture. Termination of lease agreement. a formal document terminating a lease before its natural expiration date. Real estate investment agreement details the terms of an agreement between individuals or entities involved in a real estate investment. Interagency agreement, an agreement between different real estate agencies or professionals outlining cooperation on a transaction. Estoppel Certificate for a ground lease, similar to other Estoppel certificates but specific to ground leases. Seller's response to home inspection report, outlines the seller's response to issues raised in the buyer's home inspection report. Hold harmless and indemnification agreement, protects one party from legal claims arising from the actions of another party. Exclusive right to lease commercial agreement, grants a real estate agent exclusive rights to lease commercial property on behalf of the landlord. Estoppel Certificate for mobile home park lease, certifies the terms and conditions of a lease in a mobile home park. Assignment of right of first refusal, transfers the right to purchase a property before others to a different party. Air rights agreement, grants the right to use the space above a property for specific purposes, often seen in urban developments. Construction cost breakdown, itemizes the costs associated with construction or renovation of a property. Rent roll, a document detailing rental income for a property, including information about each tenant's lease. Lease option memo, a memorandum outlining the key terms of a lease with an option to purchase, often required to protect the option holder's interests. Community property agreement, governs the ownership and management of real estate in community property states. Real estate gift deed, transfers property ownership as a gift from one party to another. Pet agreement addendum, outlines rules and regulations related to keeping pets in a rental property. Rent reduction request letter, a formal request from a tenant to reduce rent due to specific circumstances or property issues. Mortgage loan modification agreement, amends the terms of an existing mortgage loan. Declaration of easement, establishes an easement on a property, granting someone the right to use part of the property for specific purposes. Seller's financing addendum, details the terms of seller financing as part of the purchase agreement. Listing agreement addendum, modifies or adds terms to an existing listing agreement between a seller and a real estate agent. Real estate syndication agreement, outlines the terms for a group of individuals pooling resources to invest in real estate. Builder's warranty agreement, provides a warranty for newly constructed homes, outlining the builder's responsibility for repairs. Rent increase notice for commercial lease, informs commercial tenants of an upcoming rent increase and details the new terms. Modification of option agreement, amends the terms of an existing option agreement, allowing for changes or extensions. Consent to encumbrance of real property, grants permission for the property owner to place a specific encumbrance on the property. Commercial lease surrender agreement, formalizes the termination of a commercial lease before its natural expiration date. Seller's confidentiality agreement, a document wherein the seller agrees to keep certain information confidential during a real estate transaction. Real estate inspection contingency removal form, confirms the buyer's decision to remove the inspection contingency after reviewing inspection reports. Contract assignment agreement, transfers the party's rights and obligations in a real estate contract to another party. This may not be all the real estate documents that are available to realtors and buyers and sellers, but this is a good substantial amount. Thank you for tuning in to Maison Moving Company, where we've tackled your top real estate questions. If I've provided the answers you were looking for, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up or a like. Realtors, let's connect on Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube, or drop me an email at maisonmovingcompany@gmail.com for the LinkedIn connection. To all our viewers, have an incredible day or night. Until next time, this is Mason signing off. Bye.